to Build Series Sydney. I'm Kate Peck, and our next guest has been in his industry for about over 35 years. He's the multi-award-winning actor, director, screenwriter, and author, and he's one of our favourite exports and possibly one of our bluest exports, but more on that later. Please welcome Brendan Cowell. Woo! Now, Brendan, before we get into you, because we want to talk all about you, I want to talk about Poems for Paws, which is an event that's coming up, and I want to know everything about it because it's very close to your heart, and you might be wearing a T-shirt.
I'm wearing a T-shirt with koalas on it. I'm on brand.
Good.
Yeah, it's kind of all. This thing has just built and kind of exploded into something really wonderful. I started my career writing poems. And that was something, I guess when you get into your 40s, you start going, who am I? What am I? What am I doing? What do I want my life to be? I'm a certain amount through it. And I started thinking about, I write, I act. And I thought the thing that I was always most passionate about was getting up and reading my poems. And I first found my confidence as a performer and a writer. It was at the Friend in Hand pub in Glebe. There's a word of mouth poetry night there run by Tug Dummerly. And I remember getting up there and doing a poem and winning a bottle of Poet's Corner or $20, and then they asked me to do a set, and I thought, and then all of a sudden, 10, 20, 100 people were coming to watch, and I thought if I could get a crowd with the world's most unpopular art form, poetry, I could maybe then go and write a TV show or write a play, and so I was thinking, and I started writing poems. I moved to London 4 years ago, and I started writing poems there, and then I was looking back through my poems that I wrote when I was 20. And my poems I wrote when I was 40, and oddly enough, they were very similar. And and I thought, God, have I grown or developed or learnt anything? But they had the same kind of pulse and the same concerns and observations. And so I thought I've been inspired by, a lot of kind of one-man shows I've been seeing, and I thought it might be time to kind of try and do one. And so I kind of crafted something called Cowl at the Moon based on my own life and some embarrassing and kind of exposing tales of my acting career, dubious acting career, and also the emotional foundations that surround that. And a girl called Lily Stewart, an actress, kind of saw the show, and she writes poetry really well, and we thought, let's find somewhere. And there isn't really anywhere, so we kind of put a night on. And then, watching the horrifying scenes in Australia with the bushfires, I thought, well, I might exploit all the kind of famous friendship, connections that I have and try to put on some nights. The Giant Dwarf, one of Sydney's best venues, it's closing down. And then all of a sudden I ended up like the Michael Gudinski of poetry and this huge event, we nearly went to the O2 and, no, it's just kind of turned into something really nice.
Live Aid.
And Live Aid, exactly. And so we're sold out Thursday, and we're on Saturday night as well. And
awesome. So that's the 13th of Feb and the 15th of Feb.
And the 15th, and we've got Sarah Blasco and Andrew Denton, Lee Sales, and Chris Taylor and Tim Minchin are all coming to read original poetry. And the thing about poetry is it's a very silly and exposing private kind of sharing of one's, own thinking and life. So it should be a funny, clumsy, embarrassing evening, and some people might get angry about certain politicians, and, who knows what might come up on the night.
Has anybody here heard or written any poetry of late? That's a no. Oh, we've got one person. Wow. So, yeah, it's funny because it's not really on trend at the moment. So it's quite an outside of the box.
If you think about it, it is, because the Twitter is a phenomenon, people using these characters of words. If you look at people listening to Kendrick Lamar and Drake, Kanye West, it's all spoken word. It's rhyme in couplets. It's literature.
Yeah.
Poetry is right at the centre of what we do every day and our culture and our interests. We just haven't realised it yet. Poems for Paws is going to illuminate the fact that we are all closeted poets.
I love that.
Thanks very much.
We're all coming out of the closet at some stage. I like it. So in terms of, it's Port Macquarie where you're raising funds for the Koala Rescue Centre.
Yeah.
So why Port Macquarie? What's the connection?
Well, it's pretty horrifying. It's a tiny little place, but it's pretty horrifying what was happening up there. And the ladies up there, Sue and the other staff, just run an incredible operation, and you can adopt a koala up there. They've got an amazing rehabilitation centre, but if you get on their website, if you don't make it to Poems for Paws, you can get on, and as soon as you see the little koalas on the website, you're going to be adopting.
Yeah, for sure.
And these guys are our national emblem. They're the kind of heartbeat of Australia. And even now in the excavation of kind of areas that have suffered, they're still dying, with the use of the tractors and things like that. This is going to start the healing process, is looking after, the koalas, the kangaroos, and all the animal species that have been affected.
Do you know how much you want to raise?
Well, we can only raise what will be the amount of tickets sold, and we're pretty much sold out. But there will be a couple of koala-stamped buckets going around on the night for those that are so moved by my original poetry. They start throwing pineapples into the tub, and then they get on the website and adopt 68 koalas. So
Cha-ching!
yeah, exactly.
Like, how much is it going to cost to shut this guy up?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you
20
all my
koalas. I'll stop reading my poems. Yeah, exactly.
So it's $30 to get a ticket.
Yes,
you can jump online
on the Giant
and
Dwarf
grab,
website. Yeah, I think it's giantdwarf.com/Paws, Paws.
Makes
There's
sense.
a double entendre there with poems for Paws. See if you can grab onto that one.
Frothing over that
Yeah,
one.
I know.
It just went down real good.
Literary humour is hot these days, you know what I mean?
It's the new sexy. It's the new
just,
50 shades.
How to stay single,
Yeah.
Just get into it.
Now, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Not necessarily about whether you're single or not, but we've seen you go from small screen to big screen theatre to overseas writing, Australia. Where are you right now?
I am in Alexandria, in a studio with you.
Yes, good
No,
tick.
I moved to London 4 years ago, in January 2016. I was a little restless in Australia, and I thought, why not? My film Reuben Guthrie had opened Sydney Film Festival, and I thought, this is a moment to try to kind of go overseas and see what I could do. And I was lucky enough to kind of acquire the modestly titled exceptional talent visa to England, and I adapted a show called The Slap for BBC and ABC, and that raised some kind of attention in England. So I thought I'll go over there, and I love London, and try my luck as a writer. And funnily enough, it was the acting career that suddenly came to life, because you never know what's going to happen, and you can't really expect the script to play out how you think it will. I was in a play called Yerma that Australia's Simon Stone adapted from the Lorca classic, and that was a real smash hit on the West End, and that kind of took me to New York. And the next thing I know, I was in a show called Press on the BBC, and then Game of Thrones, and things really opened up for me, but all because of Simon Stone's production of Yerma.
And so that was kind of screenwriting that led you over there.
Screenwriting led me there. I've had 3 or 4 plays produced as a writer on the West End of London, and a few tours, and a couple in New York. But TV writing was why I went over there. And then I ended up playing Galileo and in a big grey cloak in Spain in Game of Thrones. And you go, well, didn't expect this to happen, but no, I'll roll with it.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
There's Jon Snow, So.
Come on, give me a cuddle. But we're gonna roll it back and get to that shortly. So,
Oh, right.
I read this in Wikipedia, so you can correct me or not correct me if it's incorrect. But you were a loner when you were younger because you would force your poems and theatrical performance on other playmates. Is this correct? And has this changed in your future life?
Exactly what I'm doing this week.
No, it works so well.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a kind of a surfing, a kind of Catholic surfing rugby league school, and in Caringbah in the Sutherland Shire. And yes, even after I was kind of bullied and called numerous names and isolated as the kind of theatre kid, for want of other terms. Don't know what the time slot is here on the build. I thought, oh well, and I just continued to get up at assembly and read out poetry and see if anyone wanted to put any suggestions in the suggestion box about a drama night. And I got some pretty kind of aggressive suggestions about what I should do with my drama night. But I don't know, I kind of always, I think my mother who's here and certain people in my life, well, I don't stop being you, and I didn't. And I took the punches and I kept going and I kept reading out the poems. And then what happens is you end up doing drama in year 10 and you're 9 and 10, and you become friends with lots of what's commonly known as girls.
Yeah.
And then by year 11, all the guys that wanted to beat you up are like, Cal's pretty fresh with the ladies, and they want to sit with me because, I know Jill and Kate and Brianna from drama. And, so it all flips, and everyone doesn't want a personality in year 9 and 10. And then they're desperate to have a personality in year 11. And so, I suddenly became cool after the 2 difficult years of being that drama guy. But, and here I am. Sitting in between us in a Lacoste shirt. But, yeah.
It's a absolute double. It's great.
Yeah.
But so Yvonne and Bruiser, your dad,
Yeah.
they were quite keen on you.
Yeah, my
continuing on. You do you.
My sister was in a pop group called Girlfriend.
Yes. Does anybody remember Girlfriend?
Take it from me.
I see some yeses here.
And my other sister Belinda was an incredible ballet dancer. So I was kind of dragged around in Mum's, Sigma. To picking up the ladies and in waiting rooms. And that's how I got my first audition for a kind of cornflakes ad, was sitting in a waiting room. So I was watching my sisters perform and learning their Stedford routines as a very young boy,
Rocker Stedford. Oh my God, I used
know.
to do that too. So you were 8 years old when you got that first commercial.
Yeah.
Was it just a strange man that walked up to you and said,
Yeah.
I think you look great. Would you like to come and work for
Well,
me?
funnily enough, it's how I begin my poetry night, is the tale of this. And there's also a very embarrassing tale about my NIDA audition that goes horrifically wrong, because I did audition for NIDA and not get in. So these are all true. But I was massive in the kind of food commercial, because apparently I could eat and smile at the same time. And that's the one skill you want from your kid actor. I had the blue eyes, the chubby cheeks, and I could smash nuggets whilst going, how good are these nuggets, without talking. Talent early.
Your mum must have trained you to eat and talk at the same time.
Bonnie, was that something we did around the marble table? Yeah, look, Mum smiled.
On the Sunday, he really liked to smash the nuggies and to have a chat.
Yeah, and then I peaked with a Pavlova magic ad, where I said all I used was this egg, and I make a Pavlova from the egg. You can YouTube that, and that was called 100%, which means you talk as well. And I had a 1 minute monologue and took you through the Pavlova making process, and that's when I clicked and went, yeah, this is me.
Mate, I've got this down
I'm
pat.
going for it. Yeah.
Would you remember, because with in performance and modelling, and I've put my name to some really bad stuff before. What's the most embarrassing thing you've put your name to?
Well, I stopped modelling. I was just I couldn't deal with the flights and all the changes and all that, and I just gave it up. Sorry, what was the question?
So the question was, what's the funniest, worst, most embarrassing ad, for instance, that you've put your
I
name
remember
to?
kind of getting bullied at school for being the Crisco oil and the juicy fruit. Everyone go, juice is fruity, when I arrived at school. But I remember auditioning for an ad, and it was 10 grand, and it was a Combantrum ad, and I had to say, I've got worms. And I remember saying to Mum, I can't audition for this, Mum. Like, it's already tough at school. I got my hair dragged through the urinal for Pavlova magic. Like, if I go Combantrum, I'm done, And Mum was like, 10 grand, you're doing it,
You little prick.
No, you weren't, Mum. And actually, the stress of that gave me worms, So then I ended up using Combantrum, loving the product and wanting to endorse it,
And being an ambassador without even signing on.
Yeah, no, later in life. But that's how life works.
Yeah, right. It's worms. Sometimes
Exactly.
you just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward, we rewound, and now we're fast forwarding to London. So you'd killed Australia, theatre, small
I actually
screen.
killed it.
Water Rats, I'm sure I saw you shoot a few
Yes.
people, that's for sure. But did you feel really cool watching that? Because I think
No
that's
one
the
has
first
ever
time.
mentioned water rats. Well done.
That's the first time I think I ever saw you
I was
on
an
TV.
abseiling criminal. You know who did it in Water Rats? Because they're wearing a beanie.
Yeah.
That's the criminal is in a beanie. Who did it? Look around. Oh, the guy that's always, nose piercing in a beanie did it,
And if you get an eyebrow, definitely did it.
Killed everybody. But no, I had a crime scene hanging off a rock at Vaucluse, which was the beginning of my action career, because now I'm an action movie guy. But we can get onto that later. But
we will.
Yeah, no, I had an incredible career as writer and actor in Australia. I ran a theatre company. I was one of the writers and actors on Love My Way, which was like a career highlight. And was in a film called Noise, which is probably the one performance on screen I can watch because I just think it's such an amazing movie. Beyond the fact I'm in it, I just think Matt Saville is a genius. And Beneath Hill 60 with Jeremy Sims. So I worked with all those guys, learnt so much. And I'm now writing a couple of projects in Australia. I'm in a TV show called The End, which is on Sky UK. So I'm still very much connected with working in the Australian industry, and that'll never change.
But then you moved to the UK, as you said, in 2016, and you did, and Yerma. So that was with Billy Piper, as you mentioned, and Billy Piper. Do we all remember Billy Piper? Yes.
Honey to the Bee. Is that it?
Tune banger.
Yeah.
It's a banger.
Yeah.
But that was quite a instrumental role and show. There was a lot of important people in the audience that led to a few other projects.
It did, yeah. Well, it definitely. When you turn up in a new town as an actor, your agent kind of drags you around with your headshot, and you have coffee with lots of casting directors going, I'm really exciting and good. And it takes ages. And I was in this hit play in June, and basically everybody came and watched it. And so it was just this incredibly fortuitous way of going, this is what I look like and this is what I do. And it was at a really nice time and in my life to kind of, become excited about acting again. But yeah, when we went to New York, I got a text message from Steven Spielberg. And there's a joke of like, oh, sorry, I got to take this call. It's Spielberg. And I got a message. I got to take this to Spielberg, and it was a text message. He didn't call. It might have just been some stranger with an anonymous phone number. I don't know. But they did say it was him. But those kind of people go to the shows in New York every night. And if it's a hit show, there's a bit of a myth around it. And you're just amazed. It's such a supported culture in New York and London. In London, theatre's at the centre of the city. It is London. London is theatre, and that's why I love it. I love my career to stem from theatre and for theatre to be at the core of everything I do.
And that role then led into some more TV, which was Game of Thrones.
Right.
Which was like, that's pretty iconic show to have a role in.
Yeah, some people, a couple of people watched it. I think, it was, and then a couple of people got pretty fired up about it. So I couldn't really believe it. I had to audition, but what it allowed me was access to audition to it, because suddenly, the casting director would see me and go, there might be a part for you. So I could get in and hustle and have a crack and then ended up as playing Harag.
Yeah, and your scenes were intense. They weren't small, quiet scenes. They were up in your grill, lots of face, big man, completely unrecognizable. I think a lot of people I spoke to were like, we had to watch it 3 times to realize that it was you because you did such an amazing job of transforming yourself.
Thank you.
And what was it like to be in that set? How different is it to anything you'd seen in Australia?
Well,
it was in Bilbao, yeah?
They're shooting, yes, it was in Spain. And so I got to go to the Guggenheim every day that I wasn't working, which was amazing. But it's kind of, after a while, it's just like another set. There's a boom guy, there's a director that needs you to do that. You're on sand, the tide's coming up, we've got to move quickly. And it's not, really dissimilar after a while. After you get over the fact that there's Jon Snow and this is Game of Thrones. You're just doing the same kind of thing in a way. And, they had a huge, kilometre-long green screen in which they build a lot of stuff into. But they're shooting so many locations at once that the crews are quite small and mobile. And also they're in those incredible locations. So you've got to go kind of hard and fast. And also you got to try to avoid the paparazzi that are, running up the hill to try to, ruin the secrets for everybody. So
it's like you're on the run as well.
A little bit, because you've got all those people, trying to take the plot away from, the people who want to watch it. So
what about the catering?
The catering, look, I was in Belfast, London and Spain. Spain, very good.
Yeah.
8 out of 10. And as you move back towards London, it gets towards the 4s.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
It gets greyer and more wobbly. you know.
Bit whiter, bit
Yeah,
blander.
yeah, exactly.
As you probably would as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like physically,
but
yeah.
you do, like, you put that cloak on, because I just couldn't believe I was in Game of Thrones, and I quickly sat down and watched 5 seasons, because I hadn't watched any of it.
And how good is it to binge on, though?
I know, and
Yes.
because I don't love myself the violence. I'm one of those. I'm an Australian filmmaker, writer. I haven't been that involved with guns and murder in my life. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I don't think, geez, Tuesday Afternoon might have a bit of a murder, and so I don't write about it. I don't crave crime, death, killing, blood, which makes me kind of an anomaly in a way in the landscape, because that's what so many people want to make stuff about. So I found that really confronting, because I don't kind of sit myself in front of violence, and I'm not preaching about it, but I just don't really want to watch people's lives being ended, or I'm not kind of so. It was quite the quite a lot to digest, but and then I went and became incredibly violent on the show, but it was amazing, and they're a real family because they'd been together for so long. They were not famous when they started. Their lives changed together. They were kids, and they're just so tight and so gentle with each other. And we went out a couple of nights and saw the Chemical Brothers, and
cool.
And they're just so welcoming, and they're just gorgeous people.
And who did you click with? Anybody? Like, did you have a favorite? Person?
Well, I'd worked with Peter Dinklage before on I Love You Too, the film that Peter Hellier wrote, rom-com, similar to Game of Thrones, and I became very close with Alfie Allen because we had a lot of fight training leading up to the beach scene. It was a couple of months for 2 minutes, to get that fight right. And the stuntman had cut it, and they'd put music to it and all that kind of stuff. And so it was quite a funny build up and really exciting. So much of acting is like a childhood fantasy. And when you do projects like that and Avatar, you're like, this is really taking place. This is a real dream.
Yeah, it seems like a just total fantasy.
Yeah.
And now, speaking of Avatar.
Yes.
The first one was released in 2009. We've been waiting a really long time.
Yeah. Well, I've just been putting Jim off and going, I'm not ready. Okay, let's go,
So, I mean, it's massive. Like, from what I've seen in the process and everything that's taken it to get to this stage, just seems like it's a huge beast. So, obviously, there's going to be a lot of criticism because so many people have been waiting for it to come out.
Sure.
Does that run through your mind?
Yeah, not really. I'm not on the Twitter, and I don't look into
the Facebook.
The abyss of negativity. I kind of keep my head up and do the job. And I think James, his intentions for the film have so many beautiful notions about connectivity with the natural world. He's making the film for people to love it. It's a film. It's a Disney film. It's with Disney and Disney Plus. And he wants to attract that audience, but I think he's an environmentalist, so I think there'll be a lot of points to be made, and so I think that would be probably the main concern of those guys. And I think that's his genius, is he makes these kind of big, epic mainstream movies, but he has a lot to say about America and globalization and the world and connectivity and what human beings' priorities are and greed, and I think Avatar will be the same.
Cool. So there's a lot of messages in there.
Well, it's about the environment. It's about the earth. It's about a big tree. I'm not necessarily a person that thinks that way in the film. I'm a bad person.
Oh, you're killing and gutting again.
I'm not saying nothing here on the build.
Well, actually, we do know your role as Mick Scoresby.
Yes.
And you are the captain of a large marine hunting vessel. Yeah, on Pandora. So you've shot some of it. Or all of it. So you shot some of it in New Zealand.
I'm shooting films 2 and 3 at once.
Whoa, cool.
But it's such a big,
So you're on, you're in.
I started shooting last April. That's why I'm in the Southern Hemisphere. And I've got a little bit more, a couple of chunks this year back in Wellington, which is really exciting. But I don't really know when it ends. I just kind of keep doing what they tell me and turning up, and being bad.
Best way to be.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty cool people that are associated with it as well. Like Kate Winslet, I heard.
Yeah.
She wanted to do all of her underwater scenes herself.
Yeah.
She ended up holding her breath for up to 7 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know. But
You probably it's under secrecy.
well, I
right?
met with Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet saw a play I was in called Dance Nation at the Almeida, and she was there with her kids, and she kind of gave me an avatar chat afterwards, and because she's got such a close relationship with James Cameron, and she's just an incredible, supportive, kind of creative warrior, and I think she took that to the set. I'm not in her part of the film. There's so many actors filming things all over the world that you're in the movie with them. I haven't met them.
Yeah.
I'm in pirate land. But I also shot in a big water set, of course, because I'm a pirate, and it's it gets pretty real out there.
Wow.
Long days and things flying around, and it's pretty exciting.
So, like, how long would you shoot at a time?
It depends on the day, and if you're losing an actor or losing a location. James is kind of famous for long days. He promised us that that's no longer the case, but often you're in the tank from 5 a.m. to midnight sometimes.
Whoa, or like in water.
In water, yeah.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah,
Are there
after
times
a while.
when you're like, I'm done. I don't want to do this
I'm
anymore.
really wet.
Yeah, I'm just wet. Somebody give me a towel.
But then you look up and there's James Cameron and you're in Avatar and you go, shut up and do what he says. This is an absolute, honor to be here, and give him everything you have. And that's what I do. And, working with him, you can see why Aliens and Terminator and Titanic, after you meet him, you understand how that all came out of his head, because he's something else.
Is it a game changer for you, do you think, in the industry?
Is that an intentional link to the vegan movie in which he endorsed?
Oh, no, but who didn't endorse that movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest. It's quite a good movie, but yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to come together. I've got my head down. I'm Mick Scoresby. You know what I mean? There's a symphony. I'm on cello. I'm just kind of hitting my bit. And hopefully it all adds up to, Mahler's Ninth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just tick that box.
Literary references, classical music references, hot.
Sex bomb over here. And also there's going to be like Vin Diesel and Sigourney Weaver's re-signed again, which is pretty cool.
Sigourney's amazing. I work with Sigourney. I work with Edie Falco. I work with Giovanni Ribisi. So it's not a tough set to be on. And, and then you realize that they're actors. They've got the same insecurities, the same processes, they're going for it, and after a while you forget, and then you turn around and go, oh my god, that's Sigourney Weaver just standing there talking to me. Oh, I'm in the scene, right, I've got to talk back to Sigourney Weaver. So there's a lot of kind of pinch me surreal moments of like, I'm Brendan Cowell from Cronulla and that's Sigourney Weaver from Gorillas in the Mist.
Oh my lord, hold it together. Keep it together.
It's incredible. But they're a family, they're quite a small team, Avatar, and they make you feel really at home.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So they go out, you'd kind of go out.
Yeah, well, James and I have the same birthday, and my family came over, to visit me, and so we put on a dinner for our birthday and sat there and talked to my nephews and my niece about filmmaking, and it's just bloody lovely people, and then you go hard during the week.
Yeah, you want to work hard for people that you like.
You do, yeah.
Now, we've got some Q&As from the audience to wrap this thing up. Charlotte from Sydney, can you please tell Jackie to reform? Oh, girlfriend. Insert prayer hands. Prayer hands, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it was a 20-year reunion. But I'll text my sister after this and let her know it's time to take it from me.
There's demand.
Yeah. I could offer him 5 minutes of poems for Paws, but
Charlotte would go and see that.
Yeah, exactly.
She for girlfriend, anything. I was looking them up and then they moved to GF4, but anyway, it's details. Joe from South Australia.
G'day, Joe.
G'day, Joe. Will there be a sequel to Reuben Guthrie?
Do you know what? I appreciate you, Joe. Shout out to Joe.
Double shout out.
I was just thinking about that. I had an idea for that, for the play at least.
Yeah.
So, Joe, if you want to shoot through any creative ideas, my number is 0414. No, thank you.
I liked it.
But yes,
keep going.
it's definitely in the warehouse.
Awesome. Tanya from Vic, can you please recite an original poem for us, please?
Wow. Now?
Yeah.
Struth. But what's the demographic?
Or even just a passage.
Oh, a passage.
Yeah.
Is this a Sydney-based thing?
This will go online and online for the world.
Oh, right. What about a poem called Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney.
Sydney. Newtown is a dustbin, a nefarious slut built on abandon. Redfern is a mudslide of pure spirits in impure waters. Erskineville is a village of men and women. Glebe is an adolescent Melbourne wrapped in its cosy cardigan. And Surrey Hills is a urine-infested pool of interesting ideas that never leave the cafe. And King's Cross is a smouldering potato wrapped in its messed-up jacket, and the earth sign is Godmother looking down on her children. Beside her are princesses. Paddington is a mirror that faces itself. Bondi is a Spice Girl, sharp, fake, beautiful. Maybe we should flee, seek refuge from the chill. Maybe we should move to Rudy Hill.
Round of applause for that. Mate.
Pulled that one out.
If that doesn't make you want to go to Poems for Paws, then I don't know what.
Will.
Tash from
Kept
Melbourne.
a bit of the swearing out of that one too.
Yeah,
which is...
no, we like a little bit. It's your edge.
Yeah.
You've got your edge there. Tash from Melbourne. Aussies commonly head to LA to find their big break. Why'd you pick London over LA?
Colder. More depressing.
Yeah, fatter, uglier
Brexit.
people. Yep.
No, I don't know. I've never been drawn to LA. I've never kind of wanted to sit out with other actors hoping to get famous. I can't think of anything worse. Plus all the freeways, a lot of driving there. And I don't know, London, like I said, theatre's at the centre of it. I felt like I could work in London and have a life and a creative life. Whereas I feel like in LA, it's very much about aspiration and getting somewhere. And I wanted to go somewhere and be happy as a writer and an actor and a person. And also I'm close to Europe, and it's not bad to go to Italy on the weekend.
Oh, awful idea.
As opposed to going to, I don't know, like the Valley, So it's great. But I can do about 4 or 5 days in LA, but I love living in London.
Yeah. Are there more opportunities in London?
I don't know. I think it's just different. For me, it works for me. Everyone's journey is different. But for me, the theatre, the television writing's really brilliant. And, you end up working in Spain. There's a lot of really interesting directors there. And I don't know. I might end up in LA one day. But for me now, I find the culture of London kind of more suitable. Yeah.
And lastly, what was the most memorable thing you took away from Game of Thrones? And does Jon Snow actually know anything?
He does know about Poems for Paws, which is on the 13th and the 15th of February. Jon Snow will be doing a poem Saturday night, an ode to Harag. The most exciting thing about it was that, at the end of the day, it's about being truthful as an actor, and it's all kind of the same. And, they're a nice family to kind of work with. And it was a whole lot of violence about a chair.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Just get other chairs,
You can have our chairs.
Yeah, exactly.
If required.
Exactly.
And so when can we expect Avatar 2? Is this 2021?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what I read.
December 2021.
Okay.
Who will we be
Christmas.
by then?
We could be different people arguing over chairs again.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Round of applause for Brendan. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for watching Build Series Sydney. I'm Kate Peck, and we will catch you next time. Toodles. Thanks, bye.